Hello, this is Max, a girl journalist trapped inside a tunnel boring machine where oxygen runs out and the temperature rises, along with two men. Don't forget to subscribe. The opening scene introduces Rai, a journalist and artist, who visits an underground construction site in Denmark to document the lives of the workers. She takes an elevator down to where the metro construction is underway. One of the workers provides her with a makeshift breathing apparatus for claustrophobic situations and mentally prepares her for any potential issues. As Rai moves deeper into the tunnel, she meets a group of workers and shares pastries and coffee with them while engaging in casual conversation. She explores the site, taking photos and asking questions about their jobs and families. Rai learns that the workers come from various countries, speaking different languages and having diverse backgrounds, but all share the common experience of being away from their families, which evokes her sympathy for their challenging conditions. Later, Rai encounters Ivo, the project manager, who is repairing a leak in an air pipe with his apprentice, Baron. She asks Ivo to show her the main drill to observe its operation. Although he agrees, he restricts her from entering the cutter head area due to the risk of low oxygen levels. Despite the initial restrictions, Rai persuades them by asserting her authorization to access any part of the site. Inside the chamber, she engages in conversation with the workers and takes their photographs. During their talk, Ivo explains that while engineers use computers and lasers for their work, they depend on him to physically crawl into the cutter head under pressure and replace the cutters manually. Soon after, Adrian, a crew member, confronts Ivo about allowing a journalist into the main chamber. He informs Rai that there are only 2 oxygen tanks providing air circulation in the chamber. Adrian then removes Rai from the chamber and locks it from the outside to conduct an inspection. Although she is not allowed inside, he permits her to observe the inspection through a camera and a window. Adrian then pumps additional oxygen into the chamber while Ivo and Baron wait for the pressure to stabilize before re-entering the cutter head. During this time, Baron shows Rai a water bottle being squeezed, illustrating that the pressure inside the chamber is akin to being deep underwater. As the pressure reaches a critical level, Ivo enters the cutter head to inspect it. He discovers that cutter number 3 is malfunctioning and uses his walkie-talkie to request a replacement from Adrian. Adrian points out that it's only an inspection day and that addressing the issue immediately isn't essential, but Ivo insists on fixing it as it must be resolved sooner or later. Their discussion is cut short when Adrian hears a carbon monoxide alarm and notices smoke filling the tunnel, signaling a fire. He instructs Rai to quickly reach the refugee chamber for safety. However, Rai panics due to her unfamiliarity with the route and fears getting lost. To protect her, Adrian locks her in a medical chamber connected to Ivo and Baron's location, turns on the oxygen, and leaves. Shortly afterward, the lights in the chamber go out temporarily. When they return, Rai tries to look outside through a small window but only sees complete darkness. In her panic, she taps on another window and manages to get Ivo and Baron's attention. They inquire about how she ended up in the chamber, and Rai explains that Adrian had placed her there for safety but has since disappeared. Ivo and Baron reassure her to stay calm, promising that help is on the way. As time passes, the temperature inside the chamber rises due to the fire outside, causing Rai to sweat heavily. She removes some layers of clothing, but the temperature continues to climb, exceeding 50 degrees. Overwhelmed by the heat, she knocks on the window and voices her distress. Ivo instructs her to open the chamber door and join them in their compartment. Rai attempts to open the door but finds it jammed. She spots a wooden log, uses it to force the wheel knob, and eventually manages to open the door. Once the door is open enough, they pull Rai into their compartment. She experiences a wave of relief and drinks an entire bottle of water, quenching her intense thirst. After taking a moment to recover, Rai asks if they are going to die. Baron, also visibly scared, heightens the tension of the situation. Ivo tells everyone to stay calm to conserve oxygen. Rai asks why they aren't trying to escape, and Ivo explains that the high pressure outside makes opening the door dangerous, as it could cause an explosion and quickly deplete their oxygen. He also mentions a medical supply area outside but notes that it's too risky to venture there, and they can't be sure if the supplies are still available. Therefore, their best option is to wait. Eventually, Rai's phone rings and the men become hopeful, thinking it might have signal. However, it's just a reminder for Rai to pick up her daughter from school. They then start discussing their families, and Rai shares photos and videos of her young daughter. Later, while everyone is asleep, Rai hatches a plan and tries to sneak back into the medical chamber. Ivo wakes up, and she fabricates a story about needing to use the restroom. He helps her back into the chamber and even closes the door for her privacy. Unexpectedly, Rai then tries to lock the door by reattaching the wheel knob. Rai's plan is to lock Ivo and Baron inside the main compartment and stay in the medical bay with her hidden supplies. However, Ivo quickly realizes her intention and opens the door. The two men enter the medical chamber and discover the breathing apparatus Rai had been hiding. Furious over her betrayal, Ivo seizes the breather and orders Baron to tie Rai up. With the breathing apparatus in hand, Ivo decides to go to the refugee chamber to gather supplies for everyone. The three argue about who should venture out, given their mistrust of one another. Baron insists he needs to survive for his family, as he is in significant debt. Despite their distrust, Ivo manages to persuade them, promising to return with help. As Ivo prepares to open the chamber, a rescue team arrives, bringing relief to everyone inside. The team instructs them to decompress the chamber so they can open the door from outside. Following their guidance, Ivo releases the gas pressure to make the chamber safe. While they wait, Rai asks Baron about his debt to his family. Baron shares that he was kidnapped years ago, which led his family to borrow a large amount of money to secure his release. Rai is moved by his story and promises to help him once they are out. During the decompression, a sudden explosion occurs outside the chamber, killing all the rescuers. The explosion causes the temperature inside the chamber to rise rapidly, leading to melting of nearby items. In response, the three occupants hurriedly return to the main compartment. As decompression begins to affect them, they are forced to retreat further into the restricted cutter head, a small space above the main compartment. Baron manages to crawl out and helps Rai, but Ivo loses consciousness inside the compartment. They manage to drag him out but accidentally drop him from a height, causing severe injuries. Despite their efforts to revive him, Ivo dies. Baron grieves Ivo's death while Rai hears sounds suggesting they are near the train tracks. Renewed with hope, she shuts the door behind them to keep out the heat and smoke, then starts digging around the walls. She soon discovers a hole and urges Baron to leave Ivo's body and join her. Baron crawls through the muddy hole, and Rai retrieves her breathing apparatus from Ivo before following him. Once on the other side, Baron turns back to help pry through. As they move forward, they accidentally fall into a pit and are enveloped by darkness. Rai quickly turns on her phone's flashlight and finds Baron unconscious. In her panic, she uses the breathing apparatus to dig in various directions, desperately searching for an exit, but despite her efforts, she finds no way out. Distraught, Rai wakes Baron and tells him they need to hug each other to stay warm. As time passes, they begin to struggle for breath due to the dangerously low oxygen levels. They share the breathing apparatus, hoping it will sustain them until rescue arrives. However, as their condition worsens, their struggle to hold onto the breather escalates into a desperate fight. In the end, Baron manages to keep the apparatus, while Rai loses consciousness. Baron, too, soon succumbs to unconsciousness, unable to use the apparatus for long. A short while later, a light pierces through the darkness as the rescue team finds them. This scene shifts to Baron waking up on a medical plane with an oxygen mask on. He sees Rai on the other side, lying down with a breathing tube in her mouth. Initially thinking she might be dead, he is relieved to see her regain consciousness shortly after. The film concludes with the two of them exchanging a glance as the camera pans out. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen, and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.